Good morning to all. Today I am going to discuss a discourse with you named diary entry. Can any one of you define a diary or a diary entry? Any one of you, any smart boy or girl, can any one of you define a diary? A diary is defined as a record of your daily thoughts, emotions, and feelings. When do you write a diary? Right now, I am expecting such an answer. Most of you might be answering me that you might write a diary before sleeping. Am I right? But I have a slight disagreement with it. You may write a diary during the beginning of a day or at the end of a day. Do you get me? During the beginning of a day or at the end of the day. What is the difference between writing a diary during the beginning and end of a day? When you wake up and start writing a diary, you might predict what all things might happen during that particular day. And during the end of the day, before sleeping, if you are supposed to write a diary, you might be summarizing the incidents that took place the whole day. Am I correct? Now, the other thing, what I want to stress is, for our academic purpose, you will be given a discourse, you will have to imagine a situation, and you will have to write a diary which you are supposed to be, most probably, you will have to write a diary before going to sleep. So, you will have to summarize the events that took place during the whole day. Can you please tell me, in which tense will you write your diary in this particular situation? Well, it will be present tense, past tense, or future tense. Definitely, you will have to write your diary in the past tense. Am I correct? So, please emphasize on this particular point that you will have to write your diary in the past tense if you are supposed to write it before going to sleep. Okay, one more thing. How will you begin your diary? A very important question put forward towards you. How will you begin your diary? You are going to sleep, am I correct? You are going to sleep, and how will you begin your diary? What will be the first point that you are going to highlight in your given assignment? Okay, how will you begin your diary? What is the first thing that you will have to insert in your diary entry? Can any one of you answer me? Yes, that's it. You will have to insert the date, day, year, and one more thing. What is the new thing that's added to our diary entry? Yes, of course, it is the time. Can anyone give me an example of the time that's going to be inserted in your diary entry? Should it be 7 o'clock? Should it be 8? Should it be 9? Or little more late? Yes, you're going to write your diary entry before going to sleep. Am I correct? You have to present your diary in a realistic situation. For that, you will have to, or it will be better if you opt a time after 10 o'clock and make it sure that you're going to take a time like, write down a time like 10:32 p.m., 10:37 p.m. Never go for never round your figure while writing your time, like 10 o'clock, 10:30 or something like that. You will have to write it like 10:30 to 10:37 p.m. etc. So, the first thing that you are going to do is you are going to write like this: 7th June, today is Monday. Of course, the year, and the time as well. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to insert all these contents perfectly. Now, what will be the second thing? The second thing that I am going to introduce is not a mandatory factor. What is the meaning of mandatory? Mandatory means compulsory. It is not mandatory means not compulsory. Some of you have the habit of naming your diary. You can address your diary. It's not mandatory and you're not going to be awarded marks as well, but it's quite attractive. Or you can just you can just, in case you have named your diary, you can start your diary in this form. Dear Kitty or dear diary, etc. You can just name your diary and you can start addressing your diary. Now, next one is definitely a mandatory feature. Have you seen examples of a good diary? The main feature of a diary is the first sentence will be ending using a punctuation mark. Which is that punctuation mark? Yes, exclamation mark. The first sentence of your diary entry should be an exclamatory sentence showing exclamation. Example, the first one should be first feature. The mandatory feature is exclamatory sentence. Can you give me an example of an exclamatory sentence? Example. Oh, what a horrible day. You stop the sentence with an exclamation. Okay, whenever you begin your diary, the first sentence should be an exclamatory sentence. A good feature, or a mandatory feature of a good diary entry. Now, you can see 3 points or 3 features of a good diary. The fourth one, a mandatory feature. Or before mentioning that the particular mandatory feature, let me ask you, what sort of style or what sort of language should we follow while writing a diary entry? What sort of language will you use before sleeping? Of course, you will be using chatty language. Am I correct? The language used will be chatty language. What's the meaning of chatty language? Normally in your classes, you might have seen or you might have friends who are very chatty. John is a chatty person. A person who loves to talk or keep on chatting is known as a chatty person. So you might you may follow or you may use chatty language while writing your diary entry. What about the style you're going to follow while writing a diary? Formal style or informal style? Since you are using chatty language, definitely your style will be informal. The style of your diary will be informal. Now, let me ask you, why do you use chatty language or why do you follow informal style while writing your diary entry? It's quite simple. You're going to, my question is anyone else going to read your diary? No. Am I correct? No. You are the only person who is going to refer your diary in future for some sort of reference. So definitely I shall emphasize one more particular thing right now on this moment. Whenever you people write your diary, you've got to get hold of good quality paper, good quality pen, and use legible language so that you people may not find it difficult to identify the alphabets written by yourself in the near future. So, I am going to once again highlight. The first point is the day, date, year and time. The second one, of course, is not a mandatory feature. You may address your diary. The third one is a mandatory feature. You have to start your diary using an exclamatory sentence. And it should end, of course, with an exclamation mark. Next, we discussed about the language used. The mode of language should be a chatty language, and the style used should be an informal style, of course. The style, because I already mentioned that the diary is for future reference only for you. Okay, now let's move on to the sixth feature. You might have gone through, or you might have seen the previous class telecasted on your Victor's channel, and an example of a diary entry was given. I found that particular diary entry too lengthy. What is your opinion about that? What sort of sentences should you choose for your diary? My next question towards you is, will you shorten your diary entry or will you lengthen your diary entry? You're going to write this particular diary entry at the time of sleep. Am I correct? And you're going to use chatty language as well. So, never opt for lengthy, long sentences. You've got to opt for broken sentences. A new word for you. The sixth feature is broken sentences. What is the meaning of broken sentences? Any one of you? Sentences which are not long, but sentences which you code yourselves in order, because this is actually for a reference by yourself in near future. So, an example of a broken sentence is, met a friend, or had breakfast. Now, I hope I am going to mention a broken sentence, had breakfast. All of you in the class understood that I had breakfast. When will you have breakfast? Definitely you will have breakfast in the morning. Met a friend. The real sentence was actually, I met a friend while I was going to school. But since you are the person who is going to refer this particular diary after long, definitely it is understandable that you met a friend on that particular day. So you have to choose or go for such sentences, broken sentences, not lengthy sentences. I told you your diary should seem to be realistic while it's presented for valuation. So definitely go for broken sentences. I've given you some examples. Met a friend, had breakfast, went to school, got up late, etc. Now the next feature. Let's move on to the next feature. Your diary should be first person narrative or self narrative. Your diary should revolve around you. So what I'm going to emphasize is your diary should be self-narrative. What's the meaning of self-narrative? It's actually known as first person, but I'm going to name it as self-narrative. While you narrate the day-to-day events in your diary, you got to be self-narrative. The diary should revolve around you. You've got to discuss or you got to highlight yourself in the main role. It should be in the first person narrative. You've got to use such words like I, me, my, our, etc. For example, in your diary, you may write like this. I went to school. This is correct. Okay? Whereas, he went to the town. You should not opt for such sentences. You have to use the first person or the first person pronoun actually. All these are pronouns. Can you see? All these are pronouns. I, me, my, our, etc. These are first person pronouns. So this is a mandatory feature of a diary. You got to write your diary in the first person narrative, or you got to be self-narrative while narrating your diary entry. So I think right now we have covered 7 points regarding diary entry. So the last point that we discussed was you've got to use broken sentences. Never opt for long, lengthy sentences. What is the problem you have to face while opting for lengthy sentences? In my point of view, when you do so, when you opt for lengthy sentences, definitely your diary will seem boring for you, or it will drain out our energy. Therefore, never opt for long sentences. You've got to opt for broken sentences. Now, all of you have the habit of listing out all the incidents that took place that particular day. Instead of that, I feel, or I have a personal opinion that all you have to do is you have to just list out the important events of the day. You just have to list out the important events. So let me do one thing. I'm going to write the 8th point. List out the important events. Only those events which seem important or significant to you. So, you have done this. Now, let's move on to the 9th point. You have already listed out the most important events in your day, and what you're going to do is you're going to highlight the most important event among them. Your 9th point is highlight the most important or striking event. You might have received a gift from someone might have insulted you, etc. You might have two types of feelings, two types of emotions on a day. You might be sad or you might be happy. Am I correct? So, you may highlight the most striking event of that particular day. So, right now we have covered or we have finished the 9th point as well. Now, we are going to wind up the session, and before winding up the session, let me ask you, how will you wind up writing your diary? What will be your last sentence? Hope that today's day was not a good day for you. So, will you stop or will you wish like this? Hope tomorrow will also be a bad day for me? No. You have to end your diary on a very good or on a positive note. You're going to end your diary. You're going to end your diary on a positive note. How can you do that? Hope tomorrow will be a good or better day for me. This is how you're going to wind up your diary. So, we have got 10 good features or 10 salient features of how to prepare a good diary entry. Now, we are going to wind up our session. I'm going to put forward certain questions towards you. My first question is, why do you write your diary? Do you write your diary imitating your friends, relatives, etc.? You should never do so. You should only write a diary if you like to do so. Your diary should be experimental. Your diary should be realistic. Often, or of course, do remember these words, realistic and experimental. So, you have to write your diary in an experimental way as if you are a part of it. It should be realistic. Now, I'm going to put forward certain questions towards you. The first question is, when to write a diary? When will you write a diary? We had discussed this in the beginning of the class itself. You may write your diary when? At the beginning of the day or at the end of the day. When you write your diary in the beginning of the day, you may even highlight those incidents that came across or that you might have seen in your dream. You may predict those things that are going to come or that are going to happen till you sleep. Am I correct? And if you are supposed to write a diary before sleeping, definitely you may summarize all those incidents that took place till you are going to sleep. So, this is the probable answer. The second question that we have to write will be, where will you be writing a diary? Where will you sit and write a diary? That's my question. Where will you sit and write a diary? Okay. Which place or which location will you choose for writing a diary? Definitely, you will choose, the answer is, you will choose a secluded room or your own bedroom. You don't want others to get noticed, or you don't want others to notice yourself writing or preserving a diary. So definitely you'll go for a secluded room or your bedroom. So I have two questions for you, and next thing is, what sort of equipments will you choose for writing your diary? Definitely, what will you choose for writing a diary? Good quality pen and paper. If you want to preserve it for the near future, you will have to do all these things. So, I'm going to wind up these classes. So, do let me know after you see these classes. I shall forward you the notes on these classes regarding diary entry, and if you have left out any valuable points, do not worry. Definitely I shall be able to send you these notes regarding diary entry, and hope in the next class or before the next class we shall together write a good diary entry based on any particular lesson prescribed for our academic year. Thank you.